Alright, if you remember that yucca cordage video I showed you down here in Florida, and I was talking about saw palmetto. Well, right here is saw palmetto. Okay, here's those leaves. I'll compare that with the cabbage palm, and I'm going to take a few of these and we'll make some cordage with this. Okay, if you remember cabbage palm I showed you, we're going to grab a green frond for cordage and these leaves here for cordage. Okay, I'm back at my place now, and I brought with me this is cabbage palm. Okay, I kept them all alive. I just stuck them in water so they're nice and fresh. Okay, this one you can see didn't get put in water. This is saw palmetto, but I have some good ones right here. Alright, this is just a little saw palmetto here, but I wanted to use this frond. This here stayed alive. And we have a cabbage palm frond. Okay, you can see there's a huge difference in the two, but we can use them similarly. Alright, so here's our cabbage palm frond. Here's our saw palmetto leaves. Okay, and right here's our cabbage palm. You can see cabbage palm is quite a bit larger than saw palmetto. Okay, and there's a little bit of a difference in the texture of the leaves as well. So what we're going to do with these is I'm just going to shoot a quick video on cordage. If you want to see how to make this cordage in depth, you'll have to watch my reverse wrap method for cordage. And this here is just going to show the strength of using these materials here in a Florida type situation. Okay, again, same situation. I'm going to put the camera back here and give you my angle of view so you see exactly what I'm doing. Okay, we'll start off with here is our saw palmetto leaves. Okay, we're just going to do the same thing as with yucca, and you can tell if you ever handle these materials, saw palmetto's got a real thick leaf. It's quite similar to yucca. Yucca's, in my opinion, still better to use for cordage, but this is what you're going to have in abundance in Florida, and it will work. Okay, you just do the same thing, just tear off sections like this. Okay, that leaves us with this. This is your centerpiece on palm. You're going to have a nice strong centerpiece on each leaf. I like to keep that and put that in there because it's going to add strength to your cordage. Okay, there's no reason to throw it out just because it's different texture. Okay, so we're going to grab just a couple of these. We'll keep our big piece in there, and we begin the same process. We're going to twist these until we get our loop formed. Like so. Okay, so we get our loop, and we begin our reverse wrap method like this. And you're going to notice when you work with this material that it can tear quite easily when it's just in its original state, which is why I think it's not as good as yucca, because yucca does not tear. It seems yucca just stays nice and strong. So you have to work this stuff very carefully in your hands. Okay, you don't want to go tearing your pieces and weakening your cordage, but it does work once you get the feel of it down. And you can use either method. You can roll this and do the speedy method, or you can do this to make it a little bit slower but stronger. It's going to be a little bit more reliable cordage for you. And if you don't put that center piece of that palm leaf in there, that's that real strong center, it won't be as strong. Okay, I've learned that from experience. Just keep it, put it in there. Put it in your very first one. Grab another leaf, put that one in there. I like to keep one in each strand because the leaves are small as it is, and you're not going to want to go without it. Okay, you can see I'm already down to here, and I've got this right here already. Okay, so I'm going to finish making this, and then I'll show you cabbage palm, and then we'll compare the two tensile strengths and the cordage to the other cordage. Okay, so now we're coming over to our cabbage palm here. Make a little cordage out of this now. Very, very similar to saw palmetto. Okay, but again, like I told you, it's longer, so it's going to provide more cordage. But it does not feel as thick and strong as saw palmetto does. And again, it's going to have that center piece like this right here. Keep it, put it in your cordage. It's going to add tensile strength to it. So we're just going to go ahead and do what we do on all cordage, just rip some pieces off. I've seen a few places, you know, when you get into palmetto flats and pine flats, you're going to run into no cabbage palm. There's been times when I haven't been able to find it, but 99% of the time you will find cabbage palm somewhere in the area you're at. There's been places that were planted by the state and stuff, you know, places, certain state parks that were just planted by them that sometimes don't have cabbage palm in them, but those are usually only 10 miles by 10 miles, not something you're going to have to worry too much about. But you get stuck in the Everglades or anything like that, you'll find this material. Okay, so you can see just from a couple leaves I get quite a bit here. You know, I got good pieces, nice thin pieces. That's what I want. They're nice and long, so I'm going to have quite a bit of cordage from this. So I'm going to perform the same thing I do on any reverse wrap. Just going to start from the center. I'm just trying to give you an idea so you can learn a little bit about a different environment. If you're not from Florida, or if you are from Florida, you can see that you can practice making cordage. Cordage in Florida is no problem for you. And the next material I'm going to show you is going to be even easier yet. And stronger. Okay, so it's in just a couple minutes, couple turns there. I've got this nice piece here already. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and finish this guy off. You can see I've got that much more to go on him already, which is why I like that cabbage palm. Alright, now we come over to this. Okay, this thing here is like 3 or 4 feet long. Okay, this is a cabbage palm frond. Alright, now if you watched my video from Florida a while back on cordage, I showed you one of these. I just took a quick split off. It took me all of 2 seconds, and it makes a really, really strong piece of cordage. Okay, I've made fishing poles out of these. I've made grates for smoking, which I will have a video on that. And it's just pretty ideal when it comes to cordage. You need quick cordage, just a quick lash your shelter together, or whatever you need it for. This is the way to go. We come over to our knife. Alright, I just want to take a nice split off here. Okay. They split super nice all the way down. Okay, so I split that down and I'm left with this. Now I've seen locals down there make baskets and stuff out of these right here. They actually turn out really cool and they're really strong, and that's what gave me this idea, like, why don't people just use this for cordage? Alright, let's go ahead and just give this a quick tensile strength test. This is just one little slice. I want you to look right here. Okay, you can see how big that is. Gets a little skinnier down towards the bottom. We're going to give that a test. Now, to test any kind of cordage, you want to wrap it around your finger like this. Okay, if it can't do that, it's not good cordage. If it breaks when you do that, it's not good cordage. Okay, see that? I wrapped that whole thing around my finger. Now let's give it a break test. I took quite a bit of strength just to break that right there. Okay, my fingers suffocated. Alright, we come down to the smaller end. Obviously it won't be as easy to break. If I can break it, jeez. Okay, that's not easy to break. That's straight fiber right there. That's what them things are made of. Okay, so if you're stuck in a situation, you don't need to use the reverse wrap method in Florida if you have cabbage palm in your area, because you can simply just split a little strand off with your knife and you've got tons. That's one little piece right there from this whole frond. Okay, you can see I split right there, right on this edge right here. I just took that little sliver off. I got a whole frond here left to make cordage out of. Alright, what if we wanted to make this really strong? Okay, so we get the size we want. Now I said this stuff is super easy to split. You just got to start it off right where you want it. Okay. So we just want to do the same thing. Reverse wrap method. Okay, I'm going to twist these until we get our loop. Okay, and then I'm going to begin. If you need cordage that you want to rely on for your shelter at night, it's going to be windy or whatever, or you're making a raft and you need a lot of cordage, right here is your way to go. Cabbage Palm provides it again. You know, I've found this tree to be quite useful in the fact that the berries that a cabbage palm yields, it's more like nuts. It yields these real hard nuts that you can actually grind into flour or smash them between rocks. You can make bread with that. You can eat the centers, pull it out. It's called swamp cabbage. That's what the locals call it down there. Okay, it's actually delicious and sweet. You can see that in one of my videos. It yields us with fire, everything we need for it, from the bow, the string, the drill, everything. Not necessarily the socket, I guess. I had a socket on me in that video that I found on the beach. But there's plenty of live oak, usually right next to cabbage palm. And live oak's one of the hardest woods in North America, if not the hardest. We used to build ships out of it. Okay, and you can see I'm weaving that frond into a nice, strong, solid piece of cordage. Alright, that is one strong piece of cordage right there. There's no way I'm breaking that with my hand. Okay, I can't do that with my own strength. This can hold quite a bit of weight. Couldn't give you an accurate amount, but it's going to hold enough where I don't think you have to worry about lashing a raft together and stuff. It definitely will serve its purpose in that matter. Okay, on to our last little deal here. This is our saw palmetto, and you can tell because it has little saw teeth right here. Alright, we can do the same thing we just did right there. You obviously want to get rid of these spines, okay, because they are sharp and they will give you a good cut. Okay, just take a small, tiny little amount off, and then we'll go ahead and we'll start splitting down our piece. Get the right size. The Seminole Indians live down in Florida, and they use these same techniques I'm using right here. Okay, so we have 2 pieces of saw palmetto here. Okay, you can use that same reverse wrap method, starting in the center. Twist that until we get that loop to form. Catch it with our thumb and our index finger, and we just begin to reverse wrap it. Couple minutes of weaving, if even that, maybe a half a minute. We got that right there. Okay, good strong braided cordage. Okay, it's just reverse wrap. So we've used 4 different types right there, 2 different types of leaves and 2 different types of fronds. It leaves us 4 options to make cordage in a Florida situation. Okay, and this doesn't even conclude it all. There's more in Florida than just this, but if you can tell, I like to use the most abundant and simple method out there, which is why I like this method, because it's simple, it's abundant. I know I'm going to find saw palmetto, and I know I'm going to find cabbage palm. I'll find one or the other. When I haven't been able to find cabbage palm, I've found saw palmetto, because the only time I haven't found cabbage palm is in what they call a pine flat, where you'll have all pine trees with saw palmetto growing underneath it. And that's the only time I haven't found cabbage palm. You might see a cabbage palm sitting in the middle of one here and there, but why waste your time? You can eat these saw palmettos too. I showed you can pull one of these fronds right here out of the stem. It's not easy, okay? I'm just going to tell you it's not easy. Honestly, I don't even think it's worth the effort if you had to. It is tasty. You're only going to get like an inch worth of a bite, but you can pull the center. There's a center stamen in these things that, just like the cabbage palm, you pull that out and it's like eating a carrot. You get that much. That's all you're gonna get. You just take a few nibbles. It's tasty. It's starchy. It's not bad at all. It doesn't kill the saw palmetto. The cabbage palm it does. So you also have to be wary of that where you're going. Taking these fronds off like this does not kill nor hurt the tree. They actually do landscaping. They trim these things all the time. Sometimes they take the whole top off and it just regrows. Because these are not trees, they're actually grass. This is the largest grass in the world, palms. A lot of people think that they're in the tree family, but they're not. They're grass, which is why they probably make such good cordage. Here's our different cordages. Okay, we have 4 different strands here. Right here is our saw palmetto. Okay, not too bad. Not too bad at all. Come over here, here's our cabbage palm. You can see that those leaves aren't as thick and it leaves all those little strands. That's what I was trying to explain, that it's not as strong as our saw palmetto leaves, but when we look close here, or from a distance, we get more. Okay, it's a little longer. And that's not just one leaf, that's actually just a few strands from one leaf. The saw palmetto there, that's one whole leaf. Okay, so you have to think about that. Then we come over here and we got our cabbage palm frond split in 2 pieces. Okay, makes a beautiful reverse wrap cordage. Super strong. Same thing with our saw palmetto frond. Now, you're not going to get as much out of a saw palmetto frond because it's obviously not as big. So we get up here and we look at these. We can see that this here is good and flexible, real strong. These leaves here are a lot more flexible, but not as strong. Okay, but they do give us cordage if we ever needed it, and that's what we wanted to do. Some of you might be into craft making and you want to use the leaves, that's fine. That's why I show all this, so you have some ideas. Okay, so here, we'll look at these individually real quick. Here's our saw palmetto leaf. Okay, we give it the break test. Okay, and it breaks. So we're looking at something that's pretty strong. This is just a small little strand here. Okay, so we didn't go very thick with it. We could have wrapped this again to make it a multiple ply cordage, like a 4-ply cordage, but we left it at 2. You can see, here's my pinky. It's not too thick, and it broke under pressure. Okay, it wasn't super hard to break, but it'll serve its purpose in lashing together certain parts of your shelter, or making a bed out of grasses in a field. Okay. Now here's our cabbage palm. Okay. Okay, I can break this too. It was pretty strong actually. You can tell that this is still just about the same as a saw palmetto. Okay, the leaves are quite similar. I don't think this is as strong. It seems to be a little more fray. You can see that it kind of frays a little bit. That's what I was getting at. But it yields a longer cordage than saw palmetto. Okay, with less work. You don't have to get as many leaves or anything. Now I'll show these two together. Here is our cabbage palm and our saw palmetto. Okay, very similar cordages, very strong. Okay, they're both almost identical when it comes to tensile strength. I'm not going to be breaking this. There's not a chance. Okay, I'm pulling with everything I got. I feel like I'm going to break my finger doing it, so that's as far as I'm going. You can see my finger's all red there. These you're not going to break, and if you ever get the chance to work with this material and make this, you'll know what I'm talking about. There's no need to even wrap this any more than it is. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this around my fingers, show you that it's pliable. Okay, you can tie knots in this stuff. You can tie these together. Say you made a couple of these, you didn't weave them together. You simply take this over this. This is called a blood knot. Okay, you tie a knot over top of that cordage, tighten it down, and then you take this over this cordage, tie a knot. Okay, you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just coming around this Just tying a simple half hitch through there. And what happens, you can do this with any rope, by the way. What happens is the two come together in the center like that, and they won't come apart because the knots are pulling on each other. Okay, you see that? I'm pulling really hard, and all it's doing is tightening up. I'm going to use my thumbs and everything to pull against it. And I can't get that apart. That's a blood knot. So that was just my way of showing you that these cordages are very pliable, and you can do things like this with them. That's super tight now. I don't even think I could get that out. Okay, these are good and wet and fresh, and that just shows you that them fronds, that's the way to go. And that's what I wanted to point out. In Florida, I showed it in a video a while back when I was in South Florida, that why waste your time using leaves when you have a frond that pretty much is right there for you. There's just a multitude of them, and you've got plenty of cordage, because cordage is one of those things, it's not easy to make out in the wild. Okay, so find a simple way in your area to get that cordage. Right here it is, Florida cordage.